Good evening. I hope that you've had a good Lord's Day. Those of us who got to go to St. Bernard's Village, those are the most delightful people, and James Peachy, that you could imagine gathering in that place. And they always listen so carefully. I mean, they're just listening to me. It's just like, man, I've got them in the palm of my hand. And I said, I just want to keep doing that because when I come here, it's not quite the same. Anyway, I appreciate those who came out there, especially, I believe, Carson, who led us in singing, as well as Carl Phipps. I'm grateful for them and just had a great time with them. Love those folks, and you get a chance to be part of that. Don't disregard that, or don't just pass up a thought without thinking about maybe once in a while going to one of those. Those are a great thing. I think this passage that was read tonight is a little bit odd. I think this thing, when he says this, brothers, I do not consider that I've made it my own, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining toward what lies ahead. That is such an interesting line from Paul. He doesn't forget much of anything, and none of us do. What do you mean forgetting what's behind? He doesn't forget any of his mistakes. In fact, he recalls them several times in his letters. He doesn't forget anything. He doesn't forget the good that he did either, but he doesn't bring that up as to sit on his laurels and say, we're just going to, I've done enough good, and so now I'm just going to kind of retire from the faith. Paul never even thinks like that. He says, I'm going to forget that. I'm going to act like that wasn't there, and I'm going to keep working with this great energy. It's a healthy thing for individual people, for their human health, to think about and reflect upon their lives. And it's particularly appropriate at this time of year as you're closing out the final days of a calendar year and about to flip the calendar over to a different year. And that's why everybody makes resolutions. That's why everybody starts, hey, it's like a brand new slate. Let's try this again. And you become very introspective and thoughtful and reflective of the things that you've done. I think as people that's important, but I think as a church it is too. So tonight there's not many verses. There's not a passage to expose or to treat. I want us to look at the year at Valley View. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to miss some things. Not everything appeared in the bulletin. Not everything is remembered. I'm not going to try to remember particular dates, but I'm going to go for each month. And there'll be some pictures and some I don't have pictures of. Last year I tried to do this and it went a really long time, and so I've cut it up into parts. Next Sunday night we're going to talk about what the year ahead looks like. Tonight we're just going to look at the past. And it's amazing to me what 365 days has caused to happen in the lives of Valley View people. Some of you have had some heavy stuff in this particular calendar year, and to think about flipping it over to another one might be a relief. For others, it's a sorrowful thing because you're leaving some loved ones in a past year and you're proceeding to another year that they don't exist in. And that's a strange thing. We're going to be looking at these, and I'm just going to remind you of some things that happened in Valley. In January, the first thing, right off the bat, Michael was thinking about us, and we had the active digital parenting. That was a great event on a Saturday morning, and we're thinking of expanding this just a little bit more in the coming years. The Mid-South Girls Conference in Memphis went very well. A group of girls went to that. And then the Relationship Matters seminar, which was well attended by Valley View. I hate these 3 or 4 day-long things. I'm just afraid people won't support them. But on that particular event, we had a huge crowd every night, and you were very attentive, and it was beneficial to us. Billy and Nelda Simpkins had their 65th anniversary, and they're still together now, right down here. It looks like they're going to hang on and make it. Looks like it. Steve Wilson scared us all to death with his health. Started in January, stretched for a few months. But now we stand in a spot where we look at that, and we look at that with great appreciation to God for sparing him and being a blessing in his life and his family's life. And I don't know how to outline things and pinpoint where God is and where medicine is and where doctors are, so I'm just going to wrap it all up in this. I thank God that he's doing great. Aren't you? I'm just grateful that he's blessed us with answered prayers in this calendar year like that one. Kim Weston was in a car accident, and she's not been with us since then. February rolls around and Colin Lamberson was baptized, one of those great things that we experience as a church. And then the father-daughter banquet was a night in Paris, and here's a picture of that, some of them that got together. We actually danced that night in the church building, and we lived to tell about it. And so it was a fun night for dads and daughters. There's going to be another one this year. I don't know what the theme is, but you can know it's going to be great. A single senior sweethearts banquet on a Sunday was well attended, and we had a good time there. The young married Valentine's banquet at Sue's Kitchen. We have a picture for this one. This is Brian Starrin. That's our first exposure to him as a church. And those who came to that night had a great time. It was a wonderful experience. He made an encore appearance we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But that was a neat event. One of those expensive Paul Wallace ideas. But it was well worth doing here. Then Ladies' Day with Haley Smith Waldron. There's just a flyer from, I don't have any pictures from that. But the men this year are going to be not only cooking, but the men are going to take some pictures. Okay, so we're going to do some stuff to be a memory of that. But that has had a continuous effect as well, as we throughout the year have sent support to this family for their experiences. Shortly after this, Dennis Nix, Thomas Nix, Randy Simpkins all headed to Haiti and did a mission effort in Haiti that we're proud of. Mission Sunday was shortly after that with Mike Napier, and he has since then struggled with cancer, but it looks like he is cancer-free. But he's sending out these things called Lessons I Learned from Cancer on Facebook that have been very enlightening. So if you get those, you'll appreciate that. Mac McDonough Place membership. Here's a picture of him as a doctor there. So he's also single, just in case you wonder. And a single doctor in Jonesboro, I'm just saying. CYC in Gatlinburg for the youth group, and the only picture that comes back from that is this one. Any memories there, y'all? It's called Bed Bugs. That's all I'm going to say about that picture. That's not an actual picture. Okay, don't. It wasn't that bad. It was much more subtle than that. But anyway, they got some money back for it. Anyway, so March comes around and we lost Bernest Posey. He passed away in March. Fried Hardeman came on a weekend and we had a fish fry while they were here, and that was one of those neat experiences for the year. Pairs and Spares were very active this year. That's one amazing group, and if we ever won an award for a ministry, Pairs and Spares would get something. They went to Murray's Dinner Theater in Little Rock at that particular time. JAM led this effort called Feed My Starving Children. You'll see this picture next. They gathered, I'm not sure where they gathered, but they were there to pack these meals and stuff. You see them with hair nets and stuff. I think that looks cool. But anyway, they did a great mission at that time. Men's Cook-Off. Who won? Does anybody remember who won the men's cook-off?
I think it was John McKnight.
John McKnight. Okay. All right. John. Okay. All right. I thought a bigger deal would be made of that if it was John McKnight. But anyway, okay. Men's cook-off. Men's retreat at Greer's Ferry. We did this on a weekend down there. Easter egg hunt as usual. Ladies' tea. This is all part of like Lads to Leaders, but it's an important part that needs to be mentioned. And Lads to Leaders conducted the evening service. Those young men did in the month of March in preparation for the Lads to Leaders convention. Some new members, I have a picture of some of them. Kurt, Shannon, and Kyle Beeson joined the congregation, and Kim Pitcock and Alan and Rhonda Keith as well. I don't have pictures of them, but we had some new members come, and grateful for that. April rolls around, and we have the birth of William Nance. See that picture? He came on the scene. But as he was coming on the scene, we lost somebody dear to us, Karen Rickman, as you'll see in this picture. I'm going to pause just right there for a second, and I think probably this and another event, as you well know, later in the year, kind of shaped the entire year for Valley View and defined who we are for a whole year. When an elder in particular loses a spouse so suddenly on a Thursday morning, and everything changes, and the tendency is to you wonder if ever bringing it up is what you're supposed to do, if you're ever supposed to say the name, bring up the memory. And I've learned in years of ministry, and I think I'm right in this, there's one thing worse There's something a lot worse than bringing up their name, and it's never bringing up the name, as if they never existed. And this family still continues to struggle with this, as anybody would, and it's been a thing for the whole congregation to limp through. We kind of limped through this year a few times. But shortly after that, Everett Harris was born. I believe I've got that picture. That's a great shot. And so we have life even in the midst of times of death. Pears and Spares were added again. They went to Memphis Botanic Garden. Steve and Devonia Richmond placed membership. What a blessing they've been. CRA Chorus was here on a Wednesday night, and we got to make a big deal out of that. And Doug and Lisa Simpson adopted Remy. Right here's a good picture of them. They got to come later on, and we got to meet them right here on a Wednesday night. And so that's a long story that finally came to some nice resolution. In May, as the first half of the year was winding down, the graduation banquet saw us honoring Kyle Beeson, Sam Harris, Jamie Hudson, Caitlin Jackson, Colby Lamberson, Owen McDowell, Dallin O'Donohue, Harrison Turner, and Kelsey Wilson. Didn't get a picture from that. I looked everywhere for that, but our graduation people moved on in their lives. We also began a singles and doubles class that's going even right now for those who are single or married without children. It's been a good thing. Eliza Kincaid Campbell was born. They don't put many pictures either, so I had to put mom and dad right there on front and center. It's easier to get forgiveness than permission. But anyway, it's been a beautiful addition to the congregation. Pat Qualls placed membership. She's in this picture next, in the red, and so we're glad to have her. Harding Academy Chorus made a presentation on a Sunday night. We had an ice cream social on that night. Peyton Campbell and Carson Bodiford arrived as summer interns, did a good job this summer. You'll see a picture of them at a later picture. Pears and Spares went to a Redbirds game. We can't muster anybody to go to a Cubs game, but they'll go to a Redbirds game. By the way, somebody says I need to repent of being so picky about the Cubs, and I'm just saying you just need to be enlightened, is all I'm saying. But really, I don't care whether you're a Cubs fan or a Cardinals fan. There's something much more important than that, but we can have fun with all that stuff as we go along. Month of June comes along. We had a great experiment on the summer series that we usually have. Instead of different speakers from the area, we had our own guys get together, 2 or 3 teams of 2 or 3 that would teach Bible chapters, and that was an interesting experience. The canoe trip was held again. This is a good picture of all those. Phil Rampy's right in there somewhere. I think he's one of them that provided these pictures. Michael Sanders was baptized. One of things I think in later times they're going to be really significant, not that it's not already, but Michael started the summer youth series in the month of June. It ran through the month of August, ended with our back to school bash, and I'm telling you that's going to be something that's going to be very important in the history of the churches here if that continues to thrive, and I'm just commend Michael on that one. Probably low point of the year, June 10th, Veda Whitley passed away. And I know that I'll make reference to this in sermons sometimes, and people will ask if that's too much, if I've used that reference too much, and I understand the sensitive nature of that, but I promise you, every time that's happened, Abby and Justin and I have talked about it, and they just appreciate the fact that there's no forgetting, and you bring it up every now and then. And so I want you to know they know when those references are made. I know, and I understand people being appreciative of that, but I want you to know I've never used that example without their approval that the timing is okay. Just want you to know that for your sake. I remember that Sunday morning because the services, in between services we found out, and the second service became nothing planned, and I just kind of went, off script. And I really wish it hadn't been recorded. It had, and that's okay, but in that prayer, in that service, I'd mentioned Mitch, and I'd said things about him being a negative person. And I know there are some people that took that, and I understand it. It wasn't the best way to put it. And I've apologized to him since then. And I hope he knows that I appreciate him more than he knows. And I didn't put that quite right, but I can tell you this, and that day there was a lot of things that didn't feel quite right, and that's just been a strange experience for all of us to go through that. Right on the eve of VBS, and that's what happened next. The birth of Christ was the story. Went very well. Shortly after that, Adelaide Elliott arrived. She's a sweetheart. And then we had a farewell for Jonathan and Madison, and there you see them with Michael and April, and I miss them to this day, talk to them often, and they're doing very, very well in South Carolina. I'm just so proud as pickles for them. Charles C. Smith moved away, and then Adeline Long was born. She's a beauty, and that's one with her mom, I just couldn't resist putting up there. Again, forgiveness over permission on that one. July rolls around, the Valley View Camp was held. A great experience. Michael's first time to kind of be at the helm of this one for sure, and did a great job and took all sorts of notes for the next one, but it's a great theme, a great camp. Shortly, I think it was right before that Nathan Thomas was baptized. I wish I got a picture of this. But if you recall, he wasn't baptized in our baptistry. Do you remember why? There was no water in a Church of Christ building that day. Anyway, so it was a cool thing. Went to the Madden's house, and he was baptized there, and he will forever be able to remember that, and so will the whole church because of that. But I hope it never happens again. I say that, and I hope it never happens again. And at camp, or shortly after, Kaylin Halcomb was baptized, Granger Wilson was baptized, Reagan Ross was baptized. A great experience, a spiritual experience there at camp to help that happen. Impact Houston mission trip. There's a picture of this one. This is where you see our interns real well. Great experience. I mean, everyone talks about that to this day, the different things they sang and did. I'm proud of our youth group for doing that. Mary Lee Cunningham joined us. One of the most unusual women I've ever met in my life. And just a joy and a delight. Makes me smile all the time. Right after this, another one of those identity-forming events happened as Myatt Leith and Carter Easton were both born. I'm just going to give each one of them just a picture here, but Myatt there, and back up to Myatt if you would, and just that one's a month later. You know what the first month was like. We as a church were taught how to pray. We as a church were, we just kind of, you could say forced to believe in prayer when there's absolutely nothing else that we could do as God's people. And I don't know that there's been, it sounds terrible, but I don't know anything that's better happened to this congregation during those 3 or 4 months right there between Veda and Myatt being born than just, we had to hit our knees every day. Just hit your knees every day. Hit your knees every day. I think that made us a better church, although I would never choose that route, and I would never choose that cost for anybody. And then Carter Easton was born about the same time, and grateful for his health and his life, and he's being a joy to us too. Pairs and Spares were added again, going to Earthquake Museum in Southeast Missouri. Exaltation 2018 was a good experience, and Drew Ferguson joined us in placing membership. He's been a breath of fresh air to us as a college student. August rolls around, and Josh and Addie and Bo Fleming joined us. The Valley View family, couldn't find a good picture for them. They're a delightful family. Cora Wall was born. You see this theme of birth, right? We have a lot of busy people in this church, it seems like, right? But anyway, it's just a good time in life, I guess. So Cora was born, and just delightful too. Back to School Bash and Super Sunday with David Shannon. I didn't get a picture at all of David Shannon being here, which is crazy. Joel Inman then took off to go to Romania and gave us that report just, I guess, last Sunday night. And I don't think I realized what all he did, and I'm just proud of what he does, and I'm grateful. And anytime that happens from out of this church, we as a church need to honor that. They're in our behalf. They're kind of in our stead as they do their work. And the preparation that man makes, that much paper. He killed a bunch of trees to go over there. But I mean, the preparation he makes is just phenomenal. Grateful for him. Tools for School happened again. This guy was, anybody know who that is? Half of you are like, have no clue, do you? Ronnie Millsap. Pairs and Spares were at it again. I went on that trip. That was interesting. I know, it's crazy, but it was good. Okay, so right the next night was the Now What College Encounter. And I think we got a picture of that. That's a weird picture that Brian Starron came up with in the middle of the encounter that I just love that picture. It's a whole group picture, about 100 plus college students that were there for that. Brian did a great job and had a great potluck that day as well. And then not long after that, Boone arrived. Oh, that's a great shot. So the Goldens added to their family. Then September comes, the Heritage Banquet, and we had an evening singing that was just phenomenal on that September. And then Jacob Malone was born. The two in the blue are really energetic boys. I don't know if you've met them or not. But in the middle is Jacob, their new brother, and they are just so proud. I think one of them was the first one to feed them maybe or something like that with a bottle and all that. It was really a cool thing. So the Malones added to their family. And then shortly after that, the Soto marriage retreat was held. You'll see a picture of everybody on that trip. Great experience. I've heard all the details and thought, yeah, but it really was a spectacular thing. And loved everybody who went. They were just a great group of people. We started the Sunday night serve shortly after that, and then Caitlin Templeton was born. There's a couple pictures here because there's one of the family, so that you'd know who she is, and this is her. So she's been a neat addition to the church too. Beautiful, beautiful young lady. Then Rush came, and I think this is the first time we've ever been to Rush. This is a group of them at that youth event at Freed Hardeman, and grateful. Michael has been on trips. I'd like to add up the mileage of what he's been doing, but we're grateful to have Michael and April. It is a great blessing to have them at Valley View. I just want to say that over and over. Don't leave, stay here. We love you here. The elders will give you a raise, I promise. All that sort of stuff. Just hang around. David Gibson gave us a Romania report in September. October came around. We had a birthday celebration on a Wednesday night for Brian Gibson, who turned the big 5-0. I should have had a picture, but I didn't. Memphis Zoo trip. Special Sunday with Michael Meredith. Heather Pliley, one of our college students, was baptized. Family Fun Day. I didn't get a picture from Family Fun Day at all. The Fall Family Retreat down at Searcy, trunk or treating on a Tuesday night instead of the regular Wednesday night because of the weather, and it turned out superb. November rolls around, and the Ramseys had their first wedding. Just their first. They had another one, maybe in November as well, right? So, man, so he made it through November. They made it through November. If you were to ask about what are some high points as well as low points, one of the high points in November, that first Sunday, the Harding Concert Choir was here for Bible class. And then they dispersed among the auditorium for the worship service. Some of the best singing I have ever heard anywhere. It was a great service, and one of those just, you can coast off for a while. Connor and Joylyn Bartlett placed membership. Got a picture of them. Cammie and Ethan and Colin Barkley placed membership. Got a picture of them. Then one of them on the... Well, it's the same for you as it is for me. Wright is the one that had the broken back, correct? 3 in places. Ethan. Branson is where the Pairs and Spares finally ended up for the whole year as they did another trip there. And then Packasack is one. You see all the sacks that were compiled and delivered. Charles and Melinda Wiggs became official members here. There's a picture. They've been here for a long time, but they just never decided that that's where we want to be. Another high point also in November was the night before Thanksgiving. when we had 4 of our members talk about what they're thankful for. And the picture showed up on Facebook. I saw them again today, and that is just that was just a great night to be a Valley View member. And if you weren't grateful for Valley View before that night, and if you weren't after that night, I don't know what's wrong with you, right? Holiday potluck in December, Wednesday night devotional was brought back, and we're starting that again. PJs with Santa, and then the Van Hoosers, and here's a picture of them. Place membership, we're grateful for that. Those are things that make the bulletin kind of like in a paragraph, and there are so many things the Valley View does that most people don't see. And probably if somebody came up to you and said, "Are you the group that does this?" You said, "No, we don't do that." And you actually do a lot of those things. We sang "There's a Stirring" 38 times, which is about 40 times less than last year. So I'm getting my way slowly but surely. And by the way, no, there is no animosity between Mitchell and myself over that song or anything else. Just in case, because I know some people will ask him, and I'm like, really? They really think so? But anyway, many Bible lessons have been taught. How many, raise your hand if you've taught an adult class or a youth Bible class once or a quarter this year. Would you raise your hand? Everybody who's taught. Raise real high, real high. I want to see it. Nearly everybody in here, at least half. Sermons have been from Matthew and Exodus all year long. Lobby singers sang a lot out here and at St. Bernard's Village. The hospice was kept stocked with snack items. Did you know that? A group of ladies from here make sure that hospice house has snacks for those families that are waiting there. That just never makes the bulletin, really. That never gets said. But that's a heroic, important thing. And I'm proud of Valley View for being part of that. Do you know that sometimes Gary James is gone because he's in prison? Doing prison work. One Sunday a month he's out teaching, and Randy Simpkins does the same thing, and you don't see it. They don't make any big fuss about it. But Valley View's involved through them in prison stuff, and it never gets said, and I just want to shine a light on that and say, man, this is us. This is something to be proud of as a Valley View person. People running the sound and putting lessons online. It takes time to put a sermon or anything else we do on YouTube, and there's people. This is weird to you, I know, but my home church has about 15, 16 people that worship there. And they have preachers every once in a while, but not often. So guess what they do? They set up YouTube and they put the certain sermons, not just mine or not just from here, but in other places. And they wouldn't be able to have any teaching at all in those times if it weren't for that. So Paul, what you do is important. I want you to know that. And the fact that it never goes wrong means you never think of Paul. You only think of that whenever you hear the static, or it doesn't work, or I'm harping at him about something that's my fault anyway. But there are other people too. There are other people behind the scenes doing that, and it would be a whole year of them doing that. They deserve accolades for that. Prayer group continued meeting on Tuesday nights. I don't know how many. I don't see a bunch, but I see a few. And like faithful warriors, they just show up and they battle in prayer and they go home. And maybe you don't think about it and you're eating supper at that time, but listen, somebody is battling for this church on Tuesday nights. And then on Tuesday morning, there's a few that, you know what, there's people that need to be visited on a regular basis that we get lost. And so this group, Johnny Cravens is the one I know, and Stan Rowlett are as part of that, and then there's others. They'll get together on Tuesday morning and they'll make those visits, and I think that's incredibly important. It's something to be proud of as a church, and I'm proud of those guys, and I'm grateful they do it. Ladies' Bible study group on Tuesdays. They go out to eat together. I love that. There's a texting ministry they have. There is a baby or a wedding shower nearly every Sunday. Jamie Smith is my hero, and she can be a bad guy if she wants to be. Do you know that? She is a mean old woman if she has to be. And you've got to be to run that thing and to figure out dates, and you've got to be a master at. And there are others that do that. And those of you that put together those wedding showers and those baby showers, I'm grateful, because that is a huge part of what it means to be a member, is to have those gracious actions toward you, expressive of family. And I'm glad I don't have to do them, right? But I'm glad somebody does, and I'm grateful for that. Youth devotionals. Michael and April do a great job of scheduling them, but you're the ones who open up your homes. You're the ones who let those critters come in your house, and you never know what they're going to do, right? And bring that food in and put it on your carpet and all that stuff. You're heroic. I'm grateful. More surgeries for people in this room. You've been through a lot of health issues in this membership, and I hope that provides fuel for prayer, but be concerning for each other. Wednesday morning breakfast. Somebody gets up early to do that. I think you're nuts, but I'm glad you do it. I'm glad you do it. Many of you lost your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, and your fathers this year. Looking through that prayer list, I've looked through all of them in the bulletin. Man, we have been hit with life. Services at the nursing home every single Sunday. Do you know that goes on? Randy will be there one time, and then Terry will be there one time, and somebody else. I think there's others doing other ones. What Valley View does is important, and you got those people doing FBI, working with young people tirelessly, and I think that's probably more responsible for the conversion of our young people than almost anything else other than parents and Bible classes. What Reese's doing right now, what Katie's doing right now, and others back there, for Lads to Leaders and what we're doing, all this stuff is what makes Valley View a special place and what makes us able to fulfill the mission God gave us to do. There's so many things that could be said about this and go on and on all night. Nobody wants me to do that. We have tested the family ties. And this church has come through beautifully. There are times we failed. There are times we just didn't notice some significant things. I guarantee there are. But there are times when this church rose up the occasion and embodied Christ to each other. And that's what we're called to do. And I'm proud to be part of a Valley View family like that. There's so much going on you don't realize. And I always wonder at the end of the year as we think about funerals, whose name is going to be listed on this review next year? And most of the time I think of older ones that I think, well, they're kind of feeble. They could go. I don't think of 2-year-olds, but 2-year-olds could end up on this list next year. It could happen. It did this time. Life just happens to us, and it's going to happen regardless of whether you're faithful or not. But what kind of blessing has God given us in Valley View to be a family to each other, to help everyone as we travel this journey of life together. And life is going to happen to all of us in the coming year. But I don't know what will happen, but I know this: God will be with you, and this family will see you through too. That's what I know. If the Lord delays another year, and I hope He doesn't, I hope He comes. I'm ready to go home, and I know you are too. We will teach God's Word in Bible class every Sunday morning. We'll teach God's Word every Wednesday night. You can count on that. And the sermon that you hear will be based in Scripture. I will guarantee you that. We will have worship services every Lord's Day unless the weather prohibits it for some reason. That's what we're supposed to do every Lord's Day until He comes. We have works to do, and we've got efforts we need to make, and we need to keep these things up. And there may be other things that you say, you know, we need to be doing this. That's true. You ready to head that thing up? Next Sunday night, we're going to be looking at what we're doing already that we know in the coming year. But for now, I want you to know, as this year ends, it's been a blessing to be at Valley View. And I hope you feel that way. And I hope you sense that. And I hope you feel a sense of pride about the work that's done. We didn't do everything right. We haven't done everything that we can. But we've done some good stuff. We're not patting ourselves on the back. We're simply remembering. We're simply reflecting, and we're thanking God for the opportunities He's given us to be the people of God up on the hill in Jonesboro in 2018. And may He grant us vision and energy and talent and a willingness to continue doing these things and more as the future becomes present. If there's anyone, this is not a lesson where we talked about the good plan of salvation, but it's what the church always stands for. What gives us meaning and purpose and identity is what Jesus did for us. The only chance any of us have is the blood of Jesus. And here's the thing, and that's what gives us a mission too. The greatest privilege in this life is to know this: God is using us to get that message out in 100 different ways, embodying the gospel, teaching the gospel, and sharing it with other people in every form possible. There is an avenue for you here. And if you're not busy enough with things that make you realize you're doing kingdom work, it's going on. Just plug in and get to work. Let's be grateful we are who we are. If there's anyone who needs to respond this evening, this is an opportunity for you to respond as we stand and as we sing.
Oh, do not let the word